What's up YouTube, Dar here from Zephyr War Games, and today we are going to be asking the question to buy or not to buy the brand new core set of DarkWing Blast. So this weekend is the pre-release for DarkWing Blast. Now for those of you that are new to pre-releases or are not completely sure exactly how they work, they can work one of a couple of ways. So you'll go up to your local events if they are running them, you'll have the ability to win a pre-release DarkWing mat that looks like this, and you'll also be given a field center as well, which will look like this. On top of that, you'll then have the ability to buy some of the packs a little bit early and some of the boxes a little bit early. Some locals still do it by the old format where you pay to enter and you get 5 of the packs, you build a deck from the 5 packs, and then you battle it out to try and win the mat. Some places will basically say it is legal for that weekend, so any cards you pull or buy you can put into a deck and play that way as well. So you've got a bit of a different format, and it lets you test out the new cards before actually heavily investing. I always advise everyone to go to sneak peeks because that'll be the best time to maximise value from the cards, because it will show you the people that are absolutely excited to get the new cards, so they'll be the ones that might pay a little bit over the odds. The pre-release prices are always a lot higher than the usual settled prices later on, so keep that in mind if you are looking to buy into cards or if you are looking to sell cards on as well. So then we look a little bit further forward, so the week after is when the official set drops, and it's kind of asking the question to buy or not to buy, and then how much you invest into it. Well, with a set like this, I feel that it is kind of missing the core components of previous sets that you had. So when you look at Power of the Elements, Power of the Elements had a couple of high value secrets in the form of Ultimate Slayer, which is pretty much a generic side deck card as a secret rare. You had Sprite Blue, and you had the Pearl for the tier elements. So it basically had core cards that were needed at 3 for the new meta decks. With DarkWing Blast, what that is going to provide is not only does it provide legacy support for Blackwings, but it also provides additional support for those 2 original decks in the form of tier elements and sprites, but then it introduces us to new decks. Now the issue with introducing us to new decks like the BYSSTED and the Kshatriya is they're not complete. So when you bought the Power of the Elements, you were able to pretty much, from that set, complete tier elements, complete the sprites with a little bit of outside involvement. Whereas with these sets as well, less so the BYSSTEDs, because they're going to be used as more of a side deck engine or a main deck engine, but more so the Kshatriyas. The Kshatriyas don't get too much stronger, or they get massively stronger in the new year 2023 when we receive the new Photon set as well. So keep that in mind. That being said, although the secrets aren't really going to be as desirable all over the board, like when you look at the 10 secrets you get, the most value one is the BYSSTED one, which if people are going to be playing this as an extended engine or as an extended part of any deck, you're going to be looking to get, but you could play it on the lower level. Now what I mean by that is the BYSSTED lower level monsters, you've got the Lubellion, which is the secret rare, which basically allows you to search out any of your BYSSTED monsters, which means you can minimise the engine. Whereas the other BYSSTED cards, like the Magma Dragon, which I think is probably the best one of all of them, is only really a super rare. So if you wanted to play a very small engine of these, you could get them. And the reason the BYSSTEDs are so good is because if your opponent controls a monster, you have a quick effect to banish a light or dark from the graveyard and then summon them down. On top of that as well, during the end phase, the Magna Dragon will give you a search, the Druid Worm and the other one will only give you a search if they are in the graveyard for that end phase. So what makes them so good is they are quick effect DD Crows. They will combat the main meta deck being tier elements, which gets a little bit stronger from DarkWing Blast and then gets massively stronger with the Maiden set, which comes out literally the 1st or 2nd week of November. So there's a lot that you need to look into for future investment, but it really comes down to this. If you're already an existing tier elements player, you're probably not going to buy a full box of this set. You probably go, right, well I'll just go buy the fusion that I need as a one-off. The same for the sprites players. Again, they've already put all of their money in Power of the Elements, they've built their entire deck, they're going to go and buy the Link 2 as a single. When you're looking at picking up the BYSSTEDs, when you're looking at picking up the Kshatriya, which I highly advise everyone looks at doing, you're going to be not really need to be paying huge amounts of money. Unless you want to get the full BYSSTED deck and you need to get the Lubellions, which are currently sitting at pre-order of £70, and I feel that this will drop down to a £50 to £45 card. You really don't need to invest heavily. Like the rest of the secrets, the remaining 7 secrets, they're all like one-offs, or they're all like tech cards that you may or may not want, and over time they will drop massively in value, so it's not something you want to be investing in, especially especially with the most recent price hikes in the form of these of the sets. So I think most recent price hikes makes each pack something like £3.80, £3.90, and then each box is about £75 to £80 a box, which is quite a huge investment when you're still only guaranteed to get 2 secrets and 4 ultras. The ultras are a lot better, but it still kind of makes it very difficult to try and make your money back off of boxes. So it's one of the ones, unless you're like, right, cool, I'm a collector, I want to get BYSSTED, I want to try and get a Starlight, I want to try and get all the Kasachilars, I want to get all of the previous stuff because I've got sprites and 2 elements, you're probably going to be buying half a case to a case. If you are a player that just wants to buy a box because you want to see what you can get and then trade into everything you don't get, then it's definitely worth doing so at a single box value and supporting your local environment. The difficulty then becomes is if you only want one particular engine or one particular deck from this set, it's when it comes down to, well, you're probably better off buying singles because you can probably get a complete core of what you need for less than the price of a single box. So that's where it starts to get very difficult, or kind of puts you in the edge of, right, well, maybe I'm going to go get singles rather than a box. When you look at it, the Kasachilars only really contain supers and ultras, so it's definitely a deck that I would advise everyone picking up because they will get hugely stronger in the future as well, and I believe the Fafnir will sit around £10 to £15 as an ultra rare and start to slowly drop down as people realise that this format is not massively playable, but in the future it will do. So it'll be one of the ones where it'll start off high, it'll dip a little bit, and then it'll start coming back up once we get closer to the Photon set release. The BYSSTEDs, again, it's one of the ones where you'll probably pick up the lower end cards like the Magma Dragon. You'll have them as an engine, whether you're going to use it as a side deck engine instead of DD Crow, or whether you're going to use it as a main deck engine instead of DD Crow, keeping in mind that it's only good against light and dark decks. And the idea is to use it as a DD Crow. So if your locals is swarming with 2 elements, then you're going to be putting this engine in no matter what you do. If they're not really swarming with 2 elements, then it's probably an engine that's not going to be of much interest to you. So that's kind of where you're going to go, well, I'm only going to use it as a minimal engine, so I'm just going to get the supers, or I actually want to build BYSSTEDs, or I want to make BYSSTEDs more influential in my deck. You're going to then look into the Lubellions. You also got the Dark Celestia, or basically the Dark Ecclesia. This is another secret as well, but I feel that this will kind of fall specifically to branded players, but it's going to fall mainly towards the Ecclesia, the Virtuous one, the Sword Soul one, where it's kind of a cool card. It really does do a lot for you, but it's one of the ones that's going to be deck specific, and it's going to be about a £30 to £40 card. Probably slow down to about 25 at the lowest. That's probably when you want to dive in and pick them up if you are looking at getting them, and then they'll slowly start to creep back up. Then you look at the other stuff like the Goatees, I think will absolutely crash. You can pick these up. I always advise if you've already got the first wave, or even if you haven't, go pick the first wave up cheaply. Pick up the second wave, because all it takes from past sets, when you look at TCG exclusive, is if the OCG get them and give them one broken card, it will catapult a deck from being unplayable to massively playable. Now, it's a little bit difficult because you look at stuff like the Libromancers, you look at stuff like B-Troopers, they never really got that bump yet. And we're still waiting for the OCG to get those to then give it a spruce of life to kind of take them up a little bit. And it's one of the ones where if you've got them and pick them up cheaply, it's worth the risk of eventually that kind of bump coming. And even when that bump gets announced, if the card is half decent, and when you look at Plunder Patrols as well, if the bump is half decent, the deck will go up a little bit, even if it's a tiny bit. And that's the point where you go, right, cool, I'm going to sell that deck because I don't think the card is like competitively viable after that. But people will be looking for the deck itself, so you'll have everything it needs. And rather than people trying to go back and buy the singles, you'll just go, right, here's a full Goatee core, take some money, take some trade, done. You then look at the other ones, so you look at the Link 4, I think it's generic, but I think it's one of the ones where it's like very specific in what time of deck you're going to be playing it in. It probably gets the most value from an Appaloosa, and even then you don't really want to get rid of your Appaloosa unless you're pushing for game and you've already used its effect. So it's kind of one of them ones, a win more card, so I feel that it will drop in price as well. When you look at the other secrets like Spellbound, I think Spellbound's an okay card, but again, quite like Salesbound, I think it will dip over time. It will probably become below a tenner, and that's probably when you can swoop in, pick up a playset for like 25 to 30 quid. It's just one of the cards that you'd rather have and then never need than need and not have it when it starts to bump up in price. So it's always something to keep your eyes out on. And again, it's always difficult with TCG exclusive cards because the OCG have never played them, they've never tested them, and because they obviously get everything before us, it's kind of one of the ones that we can go, that's a little bit of a look into the future of how it's going to be utilised now. And without that effect, we can't really dictate. So you kind of go off of, is this card actually going to be viable in the current TCG meta? And sadly, I don't think it is that great, but it is the card that you might want to be picking up when they drop to like £5 to £8 as a secret. You then look at the other Ultra, so the new Drama Trap I think is really, really kind of cool. I think it's a card that, again, I would advise everyone picking up because I think it's one of them ones that can really deal with boss monsters, and if it has the same official ruling that we got with Masterpiece versus Evenly Matched, technically you're making your player send the cards. So even if they have a towers on the board and they have a card that's completely unaffected by card effects, because it is the opponent making that decision, it's technically not your card effect affecting that monster. It's a bit of a grey area. I know I've gone over this before, but it was kind of the one that we always went back to, was if Masterpiece was unaffected by trap cards and you activated Evenly Matched with a token on the board, for example, will your opponent be able to get rid of the token? Will the opponent be able to keep 2 because Masterpiece is unaffected? And the overall ruling was no, because Masterpiece is unaffected by your opponent's card effects, whereas the effect to move the card or to send the card is actually part of the player's choice, the owner's choice to move that card, so it's technically not. It's a grey area, but basically if it works the same as that, the trap is going to be very, very good, because it's definitely like a card out to stuff like Avramax, it's a card out to stuff like the Agnes to Towers as well. So overall, when you look back at the set, is the set worth getting in bulk if you want a lot of cards from it? Yes. Is the set worth getting at lower quantities? 1 box? Maybe. It can be very risky, like I'm saying. If your worst box would be 2 secrets worth about £10 value each, and then 4 ultras worth about £5 value each. So straight away you've only made £30 back from a £75 investment. That can be very, very damaging. Obviously the more you buy, the bigger the discount you get, the smaller those margins get. So if you're looking to make money back and you only really want the foils, it's very difficult to get from a single box. If you're like, I want a lot of the commons, I want a lot of the supers, I want a lot of the ultras, I want a lot of the secrets, but I haven't got enough to buy a case, buy a box, you see what you get, you trade everything off. It's very, very difficult at this moment in time, which is why I say go to sneak events, because sneak events are obviously going to be really, really good. You'll get the people that want to be buying the packs early. You've got the chance to kind of like test your luck at lower levels, like, alright, I only want to buy 3 packs or 5 packs or whatnot. And then you're giving additional bonuses and incentives for paying for more packs, because then you get entered into raffles for the mat, you get field centres, and it just kind of makes it feel a little bit better, like you're getting a bit more value for your money, even if you don't pull that great. And if you do pull great, then you're at a perfect point where you can go, right, okay, sell this now for the money and make some money back, or trade this off and get absolutely everything you need. Anyway, I hope this video has been informative and it's kind of giving you an insight into my thoughts on DarkWing Blast. It's definitely a set that it really depends on what you want from it to pick it up, but at the very least, I highly advise everyone to go in and buy the singles for the lower rarity BYSSTEDs, and of course the Cassatri-Lars, if the Cassatri-Lar deck interests you at all, because I think it'll be a very powerful anti-meta deck in the future as well, and can still do a little bit now, but I feel that it's just going to get power crept later on down the line. Anyway, as absolutely always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.